Welcome to the Horror Hangout podcast, where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time. My name is Luke Condor-McKay. I'm joined by my regular co-host, Mr.
Ben Errington.
And today we have a couple of very special guest hosts from the My Turn podcast. We've got a Gem Carmella. Hey, Gem.
Hi. I like I'm a Gem Carmella.
You are a Gem Carmella. And a Tim McAvoy.
Thank you. I am indeed a Tim McAvoy. There's one other. He's, I think, now a retired lawyer living in New Zealand. But I'm not that one. I'm the other one.
Yeah, we didn't want that one on the show.
Nah.
Yeah. How's it going? You guys okay?
Yeah, very well, thank you. We are slightly emotional for the experience of being able to be in the same room indoors together for the first time in a very long time as of today.
Yeah, because this is now the first day of lockdown relaxing to the point where we are allowed in the same space. It's wonderful. I can smell you.
It's touching. It's literally touching. You have touched me. You've touched me. I mean, I'm already over it, so stop.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, this is amazing, really. I don't think I've seen anyone other than my fiance, my mum and dad, and that's it for ages.
Yeah, it's been a weird one, hasn't it? It's like you kind of forget what other people are after a while. You're like, oh, you're just a flat two-dimensional thing on a screen.
What? You're three-dimensional? What?
Your face has depth. What?
Hang on a minute.
Yeah.
I'm four-dimensional. I move in time and space.
Oh, wow.
That's true.
I'm literally aging as we speak.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys are drinking? I can see some sort of cidery liquids.
So I tried to go slightly to theme.
Yeah.
So I'm currently drinking a blood orange IPA.
Oh.
Blood.
That's like Mars. Mars-coloured blood.
The closest thing I could get to intense action was chili stout.
Oh.
So yeah, we're going for a bit of intensity with our drinking.
We've just got a coffee. I feel like we should have
I've just got a cup of tea. I feel like I'm just late to the party, always turning up without a drink. What an idiot.
I feel like this is going to be a podcast of two halves here.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, possibly, maybe. Yeah.
So we're doing a kind of I don't know what you call it, a podcast swap sort of thing, where we're going to be on your podcasts later on in the week. The My Turn party, we're going to be talking about specifically Resident Evil, I think, right?
Yeah, we're going to be, when you join us on My Turn podcast, we're going to be discussing Resident Evil Village. Because we're a gaming podcast, we're going to be talking about the game, a bit about the franchise, and a bit about the world of the new game. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Resident Evil is, I think, Ben, I speak for you, is your favourite thing in the world, right? Pretty much.
I'd say so. My favourite thing in the world, if I was going to rank everything, Resident Evil, probably, maybe like cheese, slightly ahead of that. Yeah. And then, got to say my daughter, haven't I? Because, otherwise, yeah. But then, yeah, that's pretty much the ranking. And either of those things are interchangeable at any given day of the week. So yeah, I've been enjoying the game. I have finished it, but has anybody else finished it here, or is it just?
I'm nearly
spoilers.
done.
I'm not going to be hitting anyone with spoilers. I'm not about that life, but
that's good.
It's good. It's good fun. I love it. I'm
pretty far through, but I think I'll probably finish it tomorrow. So
yeah, it's one of those games that you feel like you need to persevere with and make progress with every day, because if I left it for, I feel like I would have seen a spoiler if I hadn't completed it already. So
yeah, I think it's weird that I feel like this is the first game for a while that everyone feels like they're playing at the same time. Because there's been a big few releases over lockdown, or apart from maybe like Animal Crossing, everyone seems to be playing that.
That was like a whole year ago, though. Like I remember,
isn't it mad?
Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal.
I think I've gone over 200 hours on that.
Oh wow!
Like I played so much Animal Crossing.
What's your village called?
Benny Dorm. It's called Benny.
Okay.
His name. And I drew a stupid picture of him for the flag. So.
Sounds great. Well, yeah, because Animal Crossing and Doom Eternal came out on the same day, like about a month into lockdown.
Yeah.
So you either went one way or you went the other, didn't you? And that kind of shaped how your lockdown ended up being. But I think most people went for Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I kind of I was quite ill actually over that period, so it was really nice because it was quite a nice kind of game to kind of convalesce to. And but my partner was playing Doom Eternal, so I watched the entire game of Doom Eternal.
Oh.
Which maybe we'll chat a bit about that later. But
Yeah.
it's actually a really fun game to be a spectator to, I thought as well.
Yeah, so
I was mostly playing Animal Crossing while he was smashing through that.
We talked about this on previous episodes of the podcast there when we first went into lockdown and most people were playing Animal Crossing. I went the other way. I went deeply into games that were all about plague.
Yeah.
oh no.
Back-to-back games that were centered around plagues. And I was like, I'm going to immerse myself in various historical plagues and just see how it went.
Oh, like
See how
real
it-
plagues, not like
See how
zombie
it went
plagues.
for us. I started with ancient Greece. I went forward to the Black Plague in France and then Britain. And I kept going through all the plagues until I got to modern day. And I thought by the time I get there, it might be over.
There might be a game about COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure there is a game about COVID in there. I've definitely seen like some sort of mobile game advertised.
I'm waiting for
Advertising
pandemic.
COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, however, you got to deal with lockdown, I guess. If you want to immerse yourself in plagues and stuff, that's all good. None of those games where you've got to like make a plague kill the whole human race, right? Not games like that.
No. In all of mine, I was trying to survive against the plague. Although often what was interesting is it wasn't so much the disease itself that was your enemy. It was the people wielding political power at the time that weren't necessarily protecting you from the plague.
Too real, man.
Too
Too
real.
real.
That's why I was playing Animal Crossing.
I caught a fish.
It's about how these things happen in history, but
So I lived in a digital doll's house for about 3 months.
To be fair, I think that's the best way to do it. Bury your head in the sand. That's the kind of thing I do. What's happening? Turn that news off. Get Animal Crossing on right now. Where's that? What's his name? Nook, dude. Little
Tom
prick.
Nook.
Tom Nook. You little twat.
Oh yeah. He was like a capitalist dictator though. You did realise after a while that everything he did was very much like buy into my capitalist ideal, Islander.
yes.
I've actually played Animal Crossing. I've seen a lot of it, but I don't
Honestly.
really understand what it is. What are the animal? What's the crossing?
It's literally a digital doll's house. That's the best way of describing it. So like, have you ever played Sims?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a similar concept, but it's more savoury. So like, it's very sweet. Kids can play it. You know, it's all about sort of love and friendship, but also it gives you a little bit of freedom to design your own utopia, basically, with nature and plants, and it's just really sweet. It's adorable, and it was a lovely place to exist in. Like, it really was.
How do you rate it against Resident Evil, which is also quite lovely? Yeah.
Oh, it's so different. It's chalk and cheese. Like, I just think they serve different functions, don't they? Like, you need both chalk and cheese in your life, unless you're a vegan.
Do I need chalk? Do I need chalk?
Yeah.
I was just asking myself, do I need it? I use chalk to label the Kilner jars I have up there that have all my dried beans on. So I do need chalk. Otherwise,
if you drink too much,
I wouldn't know my pinto from my cannellini, and that's chaos.
Thank God for chalk.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, they're so different. I feel like games are so different to a lot of other media, aren't they? In that it's so immersive, but it's using different parts of your brain, and they definitely use different parts of your brain. So it's really hard to hold them against each other.
Tell us a little bit about the My Turn podcast then. How long you guys been podcasting for, and what's the general consensus going into an episode?
So My Turn podcast originally started with myself and my two brothers from the same mother, Bilen and Erin,
and father, to clarify.
Yeah, he had something to do with it. That's fair. So it came out of a really sad time. Like, we had a really sad year where we lost a lot of family members in 1 year. And I was like, bro, like I've always really got on with my brothers, and I include him with that as well. Like we're all really close. And I was just like, I just want to do something that spends more time with you guys. And we're all games obsessed, all of us. And so we were like, let's just start a gaming podcast. And originally we were like, well, we'll do one new game, one old game, and then like something else. So we thought we'd do 3 games every episode and chuck it out once a month. But that got a bit crazy because we realized that like we weren't buying the newest games. And then it kind of became more about not doing what other gaming podcasts do, which is review games as they come out. Because a lot of gaming podcasts we found, like as games fans, especially computer games podcasts, they're reviewing games like months before you can even get hold of them. And we were like, no, we're not about that. We just want to tell people what's good, what's not, like what's fun, what's not fun, who we'd recommend it to. So we're a lot more kind of relaxed about games reviews. It's a bit more like we're games reviewing for people who just have a passion for games rather than the games industry. And it's also all games. So we've reviewed street games, we've reviewed escape rooms, we've reviewed loads of board games and card games. So it's just games. It's just the love of play and the love of competition. Yeah.
It's the never-ending mission to find fun. In all its forms.
I've listened to a few episodes now, and I really, really like it. You are right. It's got like a casual kind of chat between siblings about games. It really is good. And speaking of escape rooms, there's an amazing one in Nottingham. It's like a horror themed one. There's like an actual serial killer who sneaks. It's very Resident Evil.
An actual serial killer.
He's an actual serial killer. I don't know how he got him. Well, he says he is. You got to trust him.
Gonna go down for 70 years, or you could just work in this escape room for a bit. Yeah, I'll get involved in that. Why not? Lovely.
What was it? That one you got us, me and a couple of our other close friends. You bought us
we went to Trapped in a Room with a Zombie, which was an escape room, like a standard escape room experience, except that there was a cupboard in the corner which opened after a couple of minutes, and there was a zombie inside of it on a chain, and the chain got longer every couple of minutes so that he could get further out into the room. If he caught you, you were like out. You had to go and stand in the corner, and you could observe and advise, but you couldn't participate. And after 60 minutes, he could go around the whole room, and there was like this central pedestal, so that you had to, if you wanted to get to anywhere near where the zombie was, you had to sort of chase him around this pedestal, so he got tied up in the chain to get to where you wanted to go. And it was genuinely, it's not so much that it was terrifying as it really made like the base parts of your brain kick in for survival, encourage your survival instincts. So there was no hiding behind any facade. You reacted in the way you would react if you were fighting for your life. And so, some people turned into action heroes, some people turned into quivering cowards. Some people had a lot of arguments. It was like every sort of dystopic island survival drama you've ever seen that gets played out over 10 weeks where people slowly lose their minds. That happened in about 45 minutes.
And on top, the thing I hated about it was I'm very like, my senses, I feel like I'm like very mildly synesthetic, like my senses are all very interlinked. So if I'm wearing sunglasses, for example, I can't hear. It's weird. I can't really describe it.
I know what you mean. For people who wear masks, I can't hear them.
I can't hear. I can't think. It's weird. But so this zombie, as Tim said, had a chain, and his one kind of scare tactic that he repeated for the whole thing was banging it against some other metal. I just couldn't cope. It was like brain overload. I was like, just get me out of it. It was horrible. I hated it. And then it was like random people. So it wasn't just our group, and this other group. Were just like, the woman of this other group was just shouting at me and bullying me for the entire time I was there. So it was horrible.
Could you not like ascertain how well you were doing by the reaction on the zombie's face? If you were for like a certain number, you just on a code, you look at it, he's like,
He said that he was anything less than a professional actor. He gave nothing away.
Oh, wow.
He was pure zombie. The woman who was like our host, on the other hand, she clearly had opinions on our performance.
Yeah.
We didn't survive. Is the long and short of it.
Okay.
We did not make it out of that room.
So you're
However,
still
you
there.
and I both done more puzzly escape rooms, haven't we?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
puzzly ones I'm fine with. Because that's, to me, that's the joy of an escape room.
The scary ones.
You solve the, but the scary ones, it's just too distracting.
With the scary ones, I felt like before I ever did one, I was like, they're ridiculous. There's no way I'm gonna quit. Like, I'm gonna be able to do it. I'm gonna be absolutely fine. I'm gonna be in the zone. Don't worry about it. I did the Resident Evil experience when Resident Evil 2 came out. It was like to celebrate the release of that, and they did sort of like an escape room / sort of like an immersive experience type thing. And I was absolutely fine until shit hit the fan. And then I was not fine. There was a bit where we went into like, it looked like a sort of parking garage, completely dark. There were sheets hanging up everywhere. And I had to get a key off of a body. And I was like, my heart started racing a little bit. As soon as that body moved, I was gone. I think I just yelled, "Hey, you fucking cunt!" and just sprinted out of there. And it was just, and then my heart was just pounding so much.
Oh, you
like,
knew it. You're on the train back to Bristol.
Yeah. Is he behind me?
Yeah.
Interesting segue. Last time I was in Bristol was on a zombie run. Have you ever done any of the zombie runs?
I've witnessed them happening. Well, no, zombie run or zombie walk, because they do like a zombie walk. Oh, zombie run.
Well, there is running. Believe me.
Don't run.
No, you get properly chased down by zombies.
Oh my god, no,
And
absolutely
eaten.
not. And eaten. It's really immersive. They're pulling out your guts, and you're like, "This is so immersive."
But they were great. We've done a few of those. I did Birmingham. I think I've done Birmingham, London, and Bristol. And Bristol was the last one I did. Probably like 2015 or something. I mean, it was a really long time ago now, but they're great because I've always done a lot of trail running. And so it's kind of like a bit of a trail run around Bristol or Birmingham or wherever. And then you get little kind of almost like arenas. They'll, a bit like you were saying, Ben, they'll kind of dress a car park or they'll dress an old building. And you'll kind of go in and there'll be something to find or something to snatch. But it involves sprinting. And so you're kind of jogging around most of the course, really. Yeah, it's horrible when they start sprinting after you. It's like
That sounds terrifying.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
Do they hire like athletes as well?
Yeah, the zombies were amazing, and they always had like a rave afterwards. And so you get the zombie. Yeah,
I couldn't calm
okay.
down.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to calm down.
Basically, if you get caught before you go into the rave, there'd be like a couple of makeup artists, and they'd quickly like do you a quick zombie makeup, and then you go in. That was part of the fun of it, really.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's the professional zombies they had. They were all runners. They were all, you know, like really experienced runners, and then they used to dress them up as zombies, and that's why they were so scary because they were really fucking fast.
See, because I feel like I can deal with shambling, like walking zombies. As soon as they start running in any film or anything, I'm just like, I'd be dead within 4 seconons.
No, they're more like
28
days later where they're fast. Yeah, they're more like. Exactly. My reaction. No.
Oh, what? Sorry, what's that? They're running towards it. I'm just gonna lie down and just take it. There's no way. I don't want to die and also be out of breath. I'm just gonna die now and just be nice and relaxed, ripped
I
apart.
don't think you'd be relaxed for long. As soon as like their breath is on you,
They just vomit. The 28 days later ones, they just vomit blood in your mouth, don't they?
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll go out that way. Yeah.
I would definitely do the play dead approach. I'm not running. I'm going to immediately smear myself in intestines and lie on the ground. Look, I didn't go to university and study drama for 4 years to not cover myself in intestines in a zombie apocalypse. Okay, I can play dead. I can do that.
How quickly the sign of a zombie apocalypse do you start draping yourself in intestines? Is it within the first news report? Have you got a spare one?
Yeah, immediately. As soon as someone tweets something, that's it. I don't even need it confirmed. Intestines, go on the face. Red.
Green eyeliner.
Yeah.
I feel like
dead
green
body.
eyeliner.
They put eyeliner on you. It's gross. It makes you look dead. It's
I
horrible.
try and be fashionable with it. I'd like make some sort of scarf out of intestines and like, drape it around me. Yeah. I've got to look good.
Maybe a little clutch bag, someone's spleen,
Yeah. You're onto something there. You're right. I'm gonna make a note.
Lady Gaga made a career
Lean
out of it.
bag. Oh yeah. Meat dress.
Cute little
She
fanny
wore
pack.
Oh no. That's horrible.
What, a literal fanny pack? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe.
I mean, I wasn't specifying because therein lay the pun.
Sorry to pick apart the pun. That's what I do. Yeah, just make the fun a little bit less fun. That's my job.
Right, Ben, we forgive you.
Ben, have you got any horror news you wanted to chat about?
You what? We got a couple of bits this week.
Yep.
So I saw there's a trailer for the Forever Purge, the final, apparently final installment of the Purge.
Oh,
What was that?
there'll be more.
Yeah. And I've never seen a Purge movie, so I thought I'd just throw it out there. You guys seen a Purge movie?
I
You
have
ever
seen a Purge movie. I've seen the Purge movie. I've seen a
same.
subsequent Purge movie. What I love about this announcement of the Forever Purge movie is the premise of it is the opposite of the premise of the Purge, which is that there's one day a year when you could do whatever you want. And then they're like, now there are no rules. You can do whatever you want on any day. And it's like, well, that's just general anarchy. That's not a purge.
Except this one day where you can't do anything and you've got to kind of like stop doing crazy shit for one day. Can you do it?
Yeah, exactly. It's like all out anarchy and war except for one day of peace and harmony. I think that's what they're going for. What they're doing is a film about Christmas, I think, where they all kind of like cross the divide and play football and sing Silent Night.
Oh god.
That's what this is.
I've not actually seen the trailer. I've never seen a Purge movie. Do you think I should watch some Purge movies?
Yeah,
Get my
first one's
Purge
good.
on.
First one's okay.
Right, yeah.
The second one goes a bit actiony. It's got I want to say his name is Rick or Frank. It's one of those. He's a Rick or a Frank.
David.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Action hero-y, but like kind of he was the bone in Captain America Winter Soldier. He was
Grillo. Frank Grillo.
Frank Grillo. Rick Grillo. Yeah. It's got him in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
That's that. I thought I'd just mention that. What else have we got? Kind of horror, but not really. But did you see the first look at the He-Man Skeletor Master of the Universe reboot Revelation? Kevin Smith produced He-Man series. It's going to be on Netflix in July. Saw some nice imagery of that. Looks lovely. Very excited.
The artwork is quite nice. Yeah, and the some of the old production
voice cast. Listen to this voice cast: Mark Hamill, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Kevin Conroy, Tony Todd, Henry Rollins, Lena Headey. That's from Game of Thrones, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Alicia Silverstone, Justin Long, and Jason Mewes. We've got Jay in. We've got Jay in He-Man.
Who's playing Skeletor? That'd be Mark Hamill, right? Surely he's not doing
Skeletor's
He-Man.
Mark Hamill. Yeah.
That's like half the cast of Clone Wars, right? No, some of them are all of Clone Wars, aren't they? Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think Mark's on that as well.
This always seems to be something that is always rumored to be happening, isn't it? Some sort of He-Man, some sort of Master of the Universe reboot, new movie, new animated series, and to see it finally happening is spectacular.
Yeah.
My main concern is that his bob still needs to look fabulous.
Yeah.
I hope they haven't destroyed the bob. If they update it in any way, I want it to have slightly more of a flick. But I don't want it to be like short.
Man bun. We don't want man bun.
I don't want it to man bun, and I don't want a buzz cut. I want a nice bob. That's all I'm really concerned about.
Like I feel like the fringe is important.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks a bit more like a. Sorry to rain on your parade. It looks like a shaggy bob.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say if they're going to go for a bob, it would be like bedhead bob.
It looks like a shaggy bob, yeah.
Not convinced.
But
Ben normally tells the truth. But it
does look a bit. It looks a bit more grown up I'd say.
Yeah.
In a way.
Did you know that the 80s animated series only aired from 1983 to 1985?
Yeah.
Oh, you did know that.
I did know that. You did know that. We all know it now.
I knew that because I had all of it taped off the telly on VHS, and then there was never any more. So those VHSs just wore out because I was obsessed with He-Man.
Did you like the Master of the Universe film?
No.
You didn't like the Master of the Universe film?
I
liked it, but I was like, I don't know, it's quite young. I was very dumb.
I used to, yeah, I mean, I loved it as well, but yeah, I was young and dumb.
Skeleton
And I did watch it.
Gold.
I watched it.
I remember going, that's amazing. What?
You're too young for me, right?
I don't know. 33.
Yeah, you're way younger than me. So because I watched He-Man when it was airing. So, like, I was a kind of late toddler. Like, I was probably like 4 or 5. That was what I watched. I just watched He-Man.
Yeah.
So when that film came out, I was like, this isn't He-Man. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
It was so, because that was my world. Like, when I say I was obsessed with He-Man. So that film just sort of destroyed it.
Skeletor looked kind of naff. Who was it? That's another Frank, isn't it? Frank.
Yeah.
How'd you say his name?
Langella.
His face was too. It was the skeleton face was too external. It was too protruding out.
Well, they
just
couldn't
didn't look
get
right.
his real skull out.
Why didn't they make a high fantasy film? Like, that's what we wanted. Like, this kind of came on the tail of all those amazing sort of 80s high fantasy films. Like, why were they trying to make it gritty and in the real world? Like, what are you doing?
And they had like a cool synth. I remember it's like I don't know, it's like a weird instrument, and they kind of remember that, and they pressed it.
Yeah, like a synth. Yeah.
Like an ocarina.
But we kind of wanted it to be another Hawk the Slayer, but He-Man. Why was it not?
Yeah.
Anyway, this should be good.
Yeah,
Got high hopes for that. High hopes for that. And the last bit I've got here is that the new Robert Eggers movie, The Northman, is getting a 2022 release date. So that's April the 8th, 2022. Yeah, sounds interesting. Really good cast. Alexander Skarsgård, Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicole Kidman, Ethan Hawke, Willem Dafoe, and Bjork.
Oh.
Yes. I'm very excited. Now, Bjork said she was
God.
never going to act again after Dancer in the Dark. And I think we now all understand those comments a little bit better than we did at the time. So I'm glad she managed to get over that and find something else, because I'm really looking forward to what she's got to offer. Especially if she's got some kind of musical involvement with all the Icelandic Viking Scandi types.
So that's it. So it's an epic revenge thriller that explores how far a Viking prince will go to seek justice for his murdered father.
And speaking of Vikings, I believe you guys, I listened to your episode about Assassin's Creed, so I know you're interested in Vikings and Northmen and that. Are you excited about this one?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It's an enormous game, so it's not one that everyone's going to complete in one sitting, but I am still going with it. Mostly because I think the difference for me is I'm such a history nerd that when I get to a new character or location, I will pause the game and I will go and read more about it, and then I will come back to the game. I'm sort of that's how I approach these Assassin's Creed games. For me, they're mostly a history lesson with a bit of fighting in it. So I'm still going, but I've just played the Gloucestershire County area, which has been really fun because it's Samhain at the time when you go there, which is Halloween. So it's got lots of horror stuff in it. They've got their Swedes all carved out like jack-o'-lanterns. You dress up as Mary Lloyds. Do you know what the Mary Lloyd is?
No, I don't think so.
Mary Lloyd's is this thing from West Gloucestershire, Wales, where you dress up with like the skeleton of a horse's head in a cowl, and you go and knock on people's doors. It's like the original Trick or Treat, and they have to do sort of like word battles with you, like flighting or rhyming or rap battles. And if they win, you have to go away. But if you win, you get to go into their house and like raid their cupboards and steal food and booze and stuff.
What?
But you come in dressed as a skeleton. It's
don't answer the door.
absolutely terrifying. So that's the real version. So you get to do a little bit of that, a tamed version of that in Assassin's Creed. Then you drink lots of scrumpy, get pissed, get chased by chickens, and it all ends with a great big blazing wicker man. So there's lots of horror nerdery in Assassin's Creed Valhalla if you go to Gloucestershire.
Did you play Senua's Sacrifice, Hellblade?
Yes.
kind of a more like Celtic lore, wasn't it? But I think it had some Viking stuff going on in there.
Yeah, it was Hebrides, I think.
Right.
It was in the Outer Hebrides. So yeah, there is Viking stuff out there as well.
Yeah.
Is the history in those Assassin's Creed games pretty spot on though? Is it pretty?
A lot of it is. So when they give you the written stuff, that tends to be very accurate. The major reference points they have of who was ruling and geographically how, for example, it wasn't England yet, but how pre-England was divided into these different kingdoms. That's all very accurate. A lot of the Viking mythology that they're using is coming from the Lothbrok sagas, which is sort of it's very recorded, let's say it that way, in Norwegian and Danish history. It's not necessarily based exactly on real people, but we do know there were Viking battles with, King Aela and Alfred. And then at the time that it's set, we're only sort of 50 to 100 years from England being unified as a country. So the idea that all these kind of disparate versions of Anglo-Saxons and Vikings and Picts and Celts are starting to make strategic alliances to come together as one nation makes a lot of sense. Just before I won't go on about it for ages, but I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is based in ancient Greece, and the history on that was particularly spot on. It was really, really good. It's set after the Peloponnesian War. It was set at a time of plague. This is one of the plague games I immersed myself in. It's one of the reasons why that actually the Athenian society, which was based much more on kind of peace and liberalism and intellectualism, ended up falling to Sparta, which was more warlike, because they were besieged and plagued all at the same time. They were besieged, they brought everyone into the city, they got ill, there was nowhere for them to go. So plague actually played a really important part in what eventually became the downfall of the Greek civilization. So yeah, a lot of their history is really spot on.
Yeah.
Just so the listeners know, Tim is a bona fide history buff, I think is the technical term.
We always say he's our resident history expert or a resident history consultant. But yeah, I think we were all saying on that episode as well that a lot of the earlier Assassin's Creed games had more to work with in terms of dropping in history, whereas this Viking one set in what is called the Dark Ages had to kind of extrapolate from what was known a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally called the Dark Ages because we just don't know that much about it. We have limited archaeological evidence, and the written evidence we have tends to be sort of mythical sagas because the common person couldn't write or read.
So when like Monmouth, is it Geoffrey of Monmouth, like made up a load of Arthurian legends and stuff? Is that
yeah, exactly. And then sort of, long after that, you've got the Venerable Bede who decides to sorry. That's a personal backstory. The Venerable Bede takes all these pagan festivals that have come from all these different cultures that have come into England and makes them Christian. And all of a sudden we get Christian England, and then we get like our set calendar, but we get all these weird celebrations like Halloween and Easter, which weren't Christian but now are. So yeah, that's all happening around that time. Sorry, I shouldn't have said
No.
I'll explain what I laughed. So Tim and I used to be in a sketch comedy group, and really where I started writing and getting into comedy was working with Tim, and we had various sketches that were rooted in folklore and mythology, and there was one about the Venerable Bede, hence I laughed because I haven't heard that for a while. So yeah. I'll leave you to fill in the gaps of what might have been funny.
Yeah.
Any other news, Ben?
I'm sorry.
No, that's it. No. Has anybody seen anything of note this week they'd like to discuss?
Drag Race Down Under. That's all I've watched.
A horror.
Yeah, it's a horror.
That's a horror show.
Not really. I've just been playing Resident Evil all week.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, mostly what I've been doing as well, and I guess obviously we will speak about that at great length on your podcast. But one thing I've seen, so I saw Ben Wheatley's In the Earth this week. Don't know if you guys have seen much about that. It looks like a bit of a return to folk horror for him, because the last few things he's made were Free Fire. Well, he made Rebecca, and he made High Rise as well. So he hasn't done folk horror probably since A Field in England in 2013. I think that was the last thing he did. But yeah, it was a good film. It was really trippy, like psychedelic folk horror. But I just feel like there was like a constant sense of dread throughout. I won't sort of go into the story very much, but I just felt like the characters and the narrative just weren't that interesting. But there was a really, really good performance from Reese Shearsmith, like a powerhouse of a performance.
Wow.
For that reason alone, I would recommend it. But yeah, it looks amazing.
What is it available to watch on?
So
I haven't really heard much about it, to be honest.
So it's available just on demand at the moment. So
yeah,
so
he made it in lockdown as a kind of extra little project.
Yeah. So again, in terms of like viruses and plagues, there's a deadly virus that's ravaged the world. It doesn't kind of mention that it's what the kind of virus it is, but we understand it's affected a lot of built up areas. And there's a test site in the middle of the forest that some experts go out to find out more about. And I can't really say much more than that. But
it sounds like it's more Field in England and less
Kill List.
Less Kill List.
Yeah, definitely.
Is it like a big ensemble cast, like Happy New Year, Colin Burstead, that kind of?
I really like that one.
Okay. Yeah, I really like that one. It was kind of unexpected for him, I thought.
Yeah,
I think that's the one Ben Wheatley film I've not seen. No, there's like 4 main actors. That's pretty much it. But yeah.
Okay.
And he's making the Meg 2 next, I think.
Is he really?
Yeah, he was supposed to make Tomb Raider 2, and then he got he's not doing anymore, but apparently he's making the Meg 2.
I feel like
he wants to do a sequel, I think. It seems that way.
Oh,
there we go.
I never got round to seeing the Meg. I wanted to see it because I kind of enjoy
I have seen it.
Fish-based action thriller.
Not a fish.
Jason Statham definitely punches a shark.
Meg.
Yeah, but isn't that a fish? Isn't it a type of shark?
Yeah.
Don't call me on my biology.
In the middle of a podcast. Quiet talk.
Trying to tell me it's a mammal or something.
Apparently, though, because I read a few things about after the first film, they were like, oh, it was a bit too much like a basic shark film. But the books, apparently, I haven't read the book, but there's a series of books that go into quite a lot of detail justifying the biology of them, like why they've evolved the way they have and why they've stayed around the way they have. And so I thought, well, it's bound to be that whoever decides to go in for a second is going to want to dig into all that material, I reckon. So I think they'll try and take the second one more seriously, maybe.
I want to see a folk horror shark film.
Oh my god!
I don't know what that is, to be honest. I just tried to picture it.
That's why I want to see it.
Can't get there. Yeah.
Wearing a garland made of ears.
Yeah.
And pumpkins. I don't know.
Well, you know, there are a lot of like offshore, like not standing stones, but wooden ones, wooden circles offshore. So you could use like the like off the east coast, off East Anglia, for example. There's lots of these wooden circular structures which are beneath the sea. In the sea, beneath the land. So you could use that. You could do some sort of folk horror with those and sharks.
Yeah. It's a great kind of Wicker Man Meg film. Yeah. Sounds good.
Wicker Man Meg film.
Yeah.
Let's pitch it. Let's pitch that shit. But that's it. Apart from that, I've just been playing Resident Evil. So I haven't really watched anything else of note. Luke, did you want to say anything about Love, Death and Robots?
Yeah, I've watched the first 3 episodes of Love, Death and Robots. Have you guys ever watched Love, Death and Robots? Do you know much about it?
Never heard about it.
Yeah, I watched the first series. I haven't yet started the second series.
So it's like an animated anthology TV show. They get loads of short stories from pretty well-known horror and sci-fi writers, and they give a really good, really high production value animation treatment. The first season, anthology shows and stories and books and stuff are always going to be, you're going to have stories you really like and stories you really don't like. But I think that the quality is genuinely consistently great. And this season seems to be just as good. There was an episode I watched called Pop Squad, which was like 10 minutes long, and it was harrowing. It was such a great short film. Yeah, I really like Love, Death and Robots. It's one of the good things on TV.
I'm gonna make a start on it. I think I love how each episode has got like a completely different animation style as well. Like that's part of the draw.
Produced by David Fincher, I think, and Tim Miller.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I should check it out.
Sweet. Anything else from anybody?
That's it.
No, I don't think so.
Now, just a certain film called
other than
Oh.
a certain film called Doom.
Doom.
Okay. So, Doom is a 2005 science fiction action horror film directed by Andrzej Bartkowiak. It is loosely based on the video game series of the same name by id Software. However, the film adapts many elements of Doom 3. Really sorry for butchering the director's name. That is something I do a lot on this podcast. And I'm very, very sorry.
What's it about, Ben?
What's it about? Don't ask me that. Okay, it's so space marines are sent to investigate strange events at a research facility on Mars, but find themselves at the mercy of genetically enhanced killing machines.
Cool. It's rated at 5.2 out of 10 on IMDb. The Rotten Tomatoes score, the critics gave it 18%, and the user score is 34%. Letterboxd has it at 2 out of 5. Some choice Letterboxd reviews here. Waffling in February of this year, but this movie sucks all balls. 5 out of 5 masterpiece.
Which side of the fence is this dude on?
This is weird. This is kind of the theme. Gooply put awesome action movie, enticed me to the very end. 0.5 star.
What?
Frankie Waitman put this is a bad movie. However, I absolutely fucking love it. 5 stars. And then finally, Cav31 put doo-doo shit ass, 0.5 star. So you could tell where he was going to go with it. Doo-doo shit ass.
My favourite letterbox religion I've just given it away now. My favourite letterbox review I saw was someone who said, Doom is my religion, 5 stars. What does that even mean?
Jesus. What have you how do you practice that religion? What do you worship? A picture of a horrible mutated Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. With his tiny little weird teeth. He's got very small teeth when he transforms.
This
like
is
tiny
weird
little teeth.
to see The Rock like that. Because this is like after WWE, after he was like really big in WWE, right? And before he became like the giant Rock that we know now.
I mean, he's huge and seriously ripped, but he looks absolutely minuscule compared to how he looks now.
Yeah. I thought that. Well, Tim and I did a watch along yesterday, and I was like, Rock looks pretty fit, actually.
I think
because he's not like he looks pretty inflated now, and I know that's the aesthetic that he's known for, but like he was.
I also think he's just generally less vascular in this film, which gives you fewer reference points to the depth and spatial kind of parameters that we're operating with. He's quite smooth.
Less neck veins to work on.
Yeah, he's more like a smooth pebble than a craggy rock at this point, and I think it's so he looks smaller.
Yeah.
He looks like a dolphin. It's weird because he's the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. He's one of the most charismatic people on the planet, and somehow they managed to make him quite boring in this film for most of it. I thought.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just a boring square. Buying a book, got to do the mission. Oh, for God's sake! Why do
I have to say, this film did prove to me that he can act. Because even with what he's given in this film,
I thought he was a demon.
Like, I kind of buy his emotion, even though his emotion is just sort of like weird in places.
Yeah.
I sort of buy that he's thinking that. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think he can act.
I guess it's worth discussing. What is everyone's history with Doom games? Everybody a fan?
Well, as an example, I could tell you that after watching the Doom film and being thoroughly disappointed, I went and laid down in my bed and I replayed all the levels from the first Doom game in my head because I knew them so well. And then I went,
That was a great way of spending your time.
Yeah. So I know. Yeah, I love Doom.
Wow, you play Doom anywhere these days, even in your head.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I know.
they did
so
say
well.
that in the 90s, didn't they? You could play it on. It's available on pretty much everything. On
Yeah,
a fridge.
It's now installed in my brain. I think one of the reasons why I love Doom so much, and not only because it was one of the few games that I actually had as a young PC owner in those days, it was that and Monkey Island on repeat. But also, we had the
Oh, yes.
ability to connect it to another computer and play person versus person on all the Doom levels. So it benefited you to know all the levels really well so that you could play all the tricks. I think that's part of the reason why I know it so well and why I loved it so much.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about the recent remakes or
The
reboots? I guess.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
I'm like a bit the opposite of Tim in that the early games, like I played them, but I wasn't a player of them. Like I've dipped, I've had a go, but I wasn't. Those kind of games didn't really capture my imagination. The newer games are really damn cool, and the kind of bombardment of the senses, the amazing use of music. I think the use of music in the newer, in Annihilation in particular, is just phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
rhythm of the game, the way that the atmosphere builds with the kind of electro rock soundtrack is just awesome. And as I say, like even watching someone else play the bulk of that game was just really enjoyable, and watching streams of people play it was really enjoyable. So that the later renditions appeal more to me in the kind of game I am, I think.
I love the later renditions as well. I'm not conflicted by my enjoyment of the first one. I think it's a natural evolution. It's still like just full of adrenaline and joy. They're just really fun. Like although it gets the adrenaline pumping because there are constantly monsters coming at you and you have to keep moving, otherwise you die. I don't find it scary in the way I would some other horror games, for example. I just find it really fun.
Yeah.
So I love it.
It's weird.
The newer games are ridiculously over the top. They don't take themselves too seriously,
Mm.
and the lore that kind of goes alongside it, which was completely absent in this movie, the lore that goes alongside it is like so ridiculous, but you're just there. You just believe every single thing, and the fact that the Doomslayer doesn't talk, and it just keeps getting more and more insane every single level. You're just there for the ride. Whereas unfortunately with this film, it was a bit like, where's all the cool stuff? There's no cool stuff.
Yeah, it's weird because
No, Ben, that's not fair. We get 5 minutes of cool stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. There we go. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah. Okay.
It's weird because most people think, oh, I can't wait to see the movie version of whatever other media, if it was a comic book or a game. I can't wait to see a movie version of that. But I kind of feel like, especially these recent Doom games, that's its perfect medium. It doesn't transpose to film very well unless the film was trying to recreate bits of the game.
But I think from the very fact that anyone I know who's seen this film has all said it was only worth it for the first person shooter moment.
Oh, it's amazing.
I think that says that actually there is room for a version that's that. I mean, we know we were talking earlier about Hardcore Henry.
Yeah.
About how, if
Just about to say that, yeah.
if the Doom budget had been put behind something like Hardcore Henry and they've labeled it as Doom, I do think a film could work in that manner. I just don't think it's been done yet. So I think there's still room for that to happen in Doom because everyone enjoyed that first-person shooter moment.
Amazing.
And if you put all the thoughts into it and say, well, how do we do that but sustain interest over an hour and a half? How do we get some sort of story in that without making it all exposition? I think it can work.
Yeah, and also if they could just make it all in Unreal now, they don't need to. Because I think that specific segment wasn't even directed by the director. The VFX supervisor directed that entire or the 10-minute segment or something. But apparently it was a lot of effort. But now I kind of feel like just do it all in Unreal. It looks just.
The other thing with the film was when the credits rolled, I was like, the credits are fucking amazing. Like, what again? Why weren't we seeing that?
What happened? I think I literally went, turn it off.
Credits are a more heavily animated version of what you get in that 5 minutes.
Okay.
So you are the POV and you're moving through corridors and text smashing through. And
I love that. I do love that segment. I did love it when the movie was released, but I feel like watching it now is a bit like it's aged a little bit. Maybe it's just because I played like the newer Doom movies where everything's like 1,000 miles an hour. even that section, maybe undead guys and like 2 different demons, whereas obviously in the new Doom movies there's like dozens of ridiculously over the top terrifying demons. So I don't know, I felt like it was held back a little bit maybe by that, but yeah, it's still all right, I suppose.
I was just going to say, in the credits, the names that pop up, they all get exploded apart from the people who survived the film.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Their
That's
names
cool.
get exploded.
Fun fact.
Yeah, that's cool.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
So who we got in the film? We've got Karl Urban as John Reaper Grimm.
John Reaper Grimm.
Yeah, some of the nicknames are
Fresh off
really
Lord of the
cool.
Rings at the time.
Karl Urban's great. I think he kind of looks like Doomguy to me. Like if they just kind of showed the bits that you already want to see. Dwayne Johnson as Asher Sarge Mahonin. We want to Rosamund Pike, who World's End. I didn't realize she was in it. I mean, I thought she was a newer actress, if that makes sense. Because I don't remember stuff from this long ago. I felt like World's End was the first time I saw her. Maybe Gone Girl.
And yet, Pike did a lot of theatre as well.
And yet, Science Woman was such a memorable part.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't remember her.
She's
Well,
quite
her
memorable
first-
in this when she screams like 4
Science
times
Woman.
in a row.
I mean,
Her
she's
first role
like
was in a
the
Bond movie,
only
wasn't it?
non-man in the film for the majority of the film, and the only one wearing basically no clothes, like skimpy clothes.
Hang on a minute, you forget those memorable roles of those 4 women who were accosted by that dude who said he was going to strip search them.
You mean the crying and screaming women? Yeah, they were memorable.
With the horrible, creepy, greasy hair.
No, sorry, I thought you meant the room where he went in and they were cowering with their children, because that's what women do in this situation. Yeah. I thought you meant those women.
No.
No, the women with like clipboards and stuff to do, and he wanted to strip search.
I just wanted a strip search. What was he thinking was going to happen? They were going to say yeah, and he was just going to do it right then and there? What's wrong with him? And what did he say at the start?
The whole discussion about the sort of crowbarred in masculinity of this film.
Yeah.
There was a hell of a lot of that. The banter was...
It was like so much. It was really weird, because at the top of the film I was like, oh, this might be a bit homoerotic, and I was quite up for that, because they were all like in a kind of locker room, and like, they were all like bros. I'm like,
well, they all said at the start that they hadn't like seen a woman for like 6 months. So clearly they're all pent up with horrible, greasy, masculine rage. You wouldn't want to go in that room because it would stink.
Yeah, I was more of the thing of like, they're all in a locker room. Karl Urban's there, The Rock's there. Surely someone's going to take their shirt off in a minute.
Yeah, I'm surprised that I saw more of Rosamund Pike's nips than I did of The Rock's.
Yeah, I mean, I
thought surely The Rock's going to get his nips out, but he didn't.
He was topless in his first scene, but you only saw his back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. Quite as teasing, isn't it? It's just unfair.
What a tease! What a tease! He deserves all the strip searches he gets.
That the heavy testosterone stuff. I think I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to do like Predator, or they were trying to do one of those kind of 80s action films.
That's very homoerotic, because like I love Predator. It's one of my favorite films. So like the opening scene, well, not the opening scene, but the scene where they're reunited, where Dutch and
you son of a bitch. See,
I mean,
I know it quite well.
I mean, that is just you know.
They should have leaned into that more, I think.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought this might be at the top. I was like, let's do that. Like, let's see men like being powerful and like natural, and like, I don't know, like I just kind of thought they were going to lean into that, and instead they did this kind of weird forced thing in the dialogue. And it was only in the dialogue.
Apart from that one man who 2/3 of the way through the film gave up and went really camp.
Yeah. The strip search guy, we were doing a watch along, so I messaged him and was like, why is he campus tits now?
Yeah. I can't remember what the dialogue was. All of a sudden, he just started like mincing. He just sort of like, his words got really fey. He was like really scared and just got really camp. Yeah.
Suddenly had a lisp.
Suddenly had a lisp.
We didn't know.
Is this the guy with the drug dealer guy?
No,
Portman.
The greasy, the guy that had all the dialogue about strip searching.
Yeah.
Towards the end, it was like, it didn't make sense for his character. He was suddenly like, I don't think we should go in there. Just
like, guys, I don't think we should go in there.
Was this before or after he got nearly sucked off down the hole. Remember that?
Oh, well, we had thoughts about what should have happened in that scene.
We were convinced we were going to see a Ghoulies 2 moment. Do you know what I mean?
Have you seen Ghoulies? Are you too young?
Ghoulies 2.
I've never seen Ghoulies.
Oh,
Oh my
okay.
god, they're too young for
Oh my
Ghoulies.
god. Okay, you're gonna
Pretty sure I've seen Ghoulies.
So, okay, up to this point.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Up to this point, we've seen lots of like projectile tongue flinging, right? We've seen.
Wait. Give it its proper name.
Oh, lingua flingua.
No, tongue jaculate.
Tongue jaculate. So you see lots of tongue jaculate coming at you, and they're all kind of like creeping around. You're like, all right, this is definitely going to an orifice at some point. And then he goes and makes a big deal of sitting on the toilet, and there's noise coming through the pipes, and you're right, the tongue is going to go through the pipes, it's going to go up his bum.
Yeah.
It's going to.
He did say he was taking a shit as well, so he was definitely
open.
Yeah.
So he's going to get rimmed to death. We were like, we're ready for this.
He's going to get rimmed to death.
And so in the film Ghoulies 2, they're sort of like knockoff critters, gremlins type things. Yeah. And one of them comes up through the toilet, and it's like the famous film from Ghoulies 2. One of them comes up through the toilet and gets the bum. So we thought that was going to happen. But then he just like, oh, something's going on outside the toilet. Like all of a sudden it turned into a slasher film. Like all of a sudden it was Scream rather than like a creature horror film where it would definitely rim you to death. And he goes outside with his gun and it's like, ah! I just thought, well, that was very disappointing. What was that whole? Why were you sitting on the toilet? Why did we see that?
Like, think about
there weren't many.
What was the rating? Like not like score, but what was the? This didn't feel like an 18.
15, surely.
It's not on Letterboxd. What is the rating? How do you learn the rating?
It feels like a 15 because there are a few swears, aren't there?
Maybe there was an alternate cut with a bum.
Well, actually, there's no blood. No, there is blood. No, there is blood. I lied.
There's a lot of organs getting removed from bodies. There's definitely blood.
Yeah, there's no active bleeding though, is there?
Because that's swearing.
A lot of the deaths are kind of. A lot of the deaths are kind of the same, where a demon. Well, they aren't really even demons, are they? That's another.
There's a thing with certification where if it's non-human casualty, then it's like a lower grade. If it's not human blood, like if the blood is green, for example, then it's a lower grade. So there's It
is a 15.
It's a 15. There you go. 15. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, because a lot of the deaths are just demons grabbing people and swinging them back and forth over and over again. That happened way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of like woo woo slam on the wall.
There was a great moment though with the dude.
Issue demons, right? So the first Doom game, they were demons from hell.
Yeah.
That was the law, right? And thereafter, they became Martians. Essentially, became an alien thing. Still with a lot of hell speak, but it became an alien thing. In this film, we get neither demons nor aliens. They're mutated humans, and there's all this bullshit about extra chromosomes and a whole backstory about parents that never came into being. And you just go, hang on a minute. We had two options for what you could have been. You could have been a demon. You could have been a Martian. Instead, you're like a roided up.
Yeah.
I feel like they just shoved in the chromosomes thing that made some people superhuman and made other people demons, just so they could do a superhuman Karl Urban versus Demon Rock fight. That was the only reason. The whole movie was a build-up to that.
It's also that classic sort of American action trope of good v evil, isn't it? Like, you are the good and you are the evil, and it like underlined that and highlighted it and put a circle around it through the whole film.
Go into that room and murder all those kids. I don't think I could do that. You what?
What at that point? Why is Rock? He's not already infected by that point?
Hates kids.
No, it's just the underlying point is like he's inherently evil. That's like the whole game is like, oh, you a good soul, you bad soul. The whole movie, sorry. Yeah.
It does seem to escalate to that kind of evilness quite suddenly, but
it's like he's been holding it in for the whole film, and he's gone, oh, I gotta be evil now. I just gotta be evil. Kill a kid.
You hit the nail on the head, Luke, with any character development with this film, which is that they're all presented a certain way at the beginning, and at some point in the film, for no reason, most of them just have a weird character shift, and it's like, when did that happen?
It's like they're in an escape room environment, and it brings out all the worst very, very quickly.
Maybe
all
that's
been
it.
there.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
it. We did enjoy Dexter Fletcher.
We did enjoy Dexter Fletcher. It was great watching him be in this film, knowing that he's just directed Rocket Man.
Yeah, I just watched that last week as well.
It's great,
Yeah.
isn't it?
You just wish you could reach into the screen and tell him it's going to be okay. You know? I love as well the fact that his character was named Pinky, and we're like, well, you're going to turn into the monster Pinky from the game then. Great, I look forward to that. And you know, and the whole premise of if you're inherently evil, it's going to turn you into a monster. I'm not sure if they necessarily showed why Pinky earned that.
Yeah, I think that's weird, isn't it?
He did run up to. He was supposed to protect the Ark. They give him a load of grenades and a gun.
Oh,
and then
he
abandoned his post.
Cowards.
I think that's a harsh judgment. I think judging someone on their inherent fear reaction is sort of not quite the same as saying you're psychotic.
He did say, "I'm not a soldier" about 15 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and he had no ass. He had no ass. His ass was in another universe. We have to remember
that. What if Lady Scientist had said to The Rock, "It's your job to solve this chromosome issue. I'm going in there with a gun." And then because he couldn't solve it, he was deemed evil. You know, it's the same thing. Come on now.
Yeah, that's a great point. How does it start? How does it start? Where do we start with the movie? Like,
I don't know.
So it's 2026. And
it's kind of gross that that's only a couple of years away.
No, so that's 2026 is when they discovered the Ark, which was in the Nevada desert.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's right.
20 years later is when the movie is set.
I missed all
So for 20 years, they haven't figured out what's going on with the Ark. They've just been like, let's just use it. But let's not forget that we have been discovering mysterious monoliths in the Nevada desert in the past couple of years. I mean, we know, spoiler, we know they're artists, but still, like, imagine it could be the Ark. We could be nearly there.
There is a new Mars rover that's just landed quite recently as well. So
exactly. So we're potentially not that far away from it.
Yeah. So as we get like a scene with all of the scientists running away. Pretty standard scene. They're running from some. We can't quite see it. They all got. One lady puts her arm through a door at the wrong time. If you ever trapped your finger in a door, it's horrendous. This is an entire arm.
The whole start of this film reminds me so much of the first Resident Evil movie, where scientists fall in, running away from something terrible happens, and a team of mercenaries go in, and it kind of feels like it builds to a similar sort of thing where someone who isn't superhuman at the start and is eventually going to become superhuman and define the movie, and obviously with Alice define the franchise. It just kind of felt like that. It's only a few years later, isn't it? It's like, what was it, 3 years after the first Resident Evil movie? Felt a bit like a carbon copy for me.
Yeah, I didn't see that similarity. But I know what you mean. Sort of thematically, it's that kind of shutdown of people getting on with their lives, and the military have come in like heavy-handed, and it's like shutting doors on people and like, no, you can't come in.
Yeah. There's also that like the new metal music that kicks in that reminds me of Resident Evil. Quite a bit.
That was just of its time, though, wasn't it? Any sort of horror movie between 99 to maybe 2006 had like a drowning pool / saliva / saliva. One of those songs on the credits. One of those songs on the credits. Yeah. Marilyn Manson in Resident Evil as well. Oh, don't say his name.
Yeah. It's weird in this film, the music, because I felt like until that action sequence towards the end, it didn't quite work.
Yeah,
and it didn't feel mixed properly, did it? It felt like very backgroundy when it's like really imposing music. Like it's the kind of music you've got to have fully turned up, but it didn't feel mixed properly. I don't know if you guys found that.
Well, I think the problem is when you think of those segments now in the Doom game, that music is so good.
Yeah.
Maybe they should recut the film with Mick Gordon.
Get Mick Gordon.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that so much of the film was in almost complete darkness and also stealth mode. Like they were creeping around slowly in the darkness. And look, if you've played any Doom game, you know that's death. Like you don't do that. You run full throttle at everything and keep firing. So it's like, well, that music is also built for that experience. It's like, keep going, keep fighting, adrenaline. If you put that against that film, it would look ridiculous, because one of the big problems they did was spend 90% of it in almost total darkness doing stealth moves.
They needed to just be attacked, straight away, know exactly what they were dealing with, and then set themselves out for the rest of the film. But it felt like for the majority of the movie was them kind of slowly discovering what was going on and what they were up against. It's
weird that they made that choice, isn't it? Like, partly building what Tim's saying, this feels like it should have been a pressure cooker movie. It should have been like, a lot of the Doom games are either room-to-room dungeons or they're arenas. Like, everything happens in a space. You open a door, boom, bombardment. And this film, as you're saying, is like waiting for something to happen, trying to build suspense. But then in order to build suspense, they need to insert a bunch of narrative that doesn't really work in the universe.
No.
The thing about it being in like almost total darkness, I mean, you do see it often when directors are using practical effects rather than CGI to try and cover some sins. And maybe those alien costumes, mutant costumes, weren't up to much. But then you remember like that they cast Doug Jones to play a bunch of those mutants, and you think, I would recognize Doug Jones in almost everything that was well lit, and I didn't recognize him in this film. How could they not use his uncanny talents of movement to show it off to its full effect? And they didn't.
I had no idea that Doug Jones was
he played
anyone.
He played a couple of the monsters. He was fully encased in prosthetics, and
Weirdly, I'm still not entirely sure what the monster looks like. Like, I feel like we saw it had lots of eyes at one point. Eyes opened up, and then I don't think we ever got any completely lit shots.
The lore that they chose to go with, they all look different because they were at different stages of the mutation. So I think that's another reason why a lot of horrors is when you even if you don't fully see your enemy, you know what the threat of your enemy is. It makes the horror really effective. Whereas with this, they were all different stages of transformation. It was kind of like you couldn't quite grasp what the enemy was. So you didn't ever really see the monster because they were all different versions of this mutation. Also,
everyone is quite obvious that it's like dead people mutating and turning into these things. Everyone seems to be very slow to pick that up, especially The Rock. Like, obviously that's what's happening. I feel like the characters needed to pick up on it a bit quicker, and a bit frustrating.
Yeah, the dialogue as well. There are bits where they'd say to Rosamund Pike, "What's happening?" and she'd just have to go, I'm just freezing my face to camera, because that's basically what she did for half the film. Is like,
but also, like, they know what their mission is. Like, why are the Marines even interested in sort of the science behind what's happening? It's almost like they should just be, well, this is our mission. We know what we need to do. Even at a point where there's a countdown, and there's always a countdown. There's a countdown at the end of this movie, and Karl Urban's character is like, right, we got to get out of here. She's just explaining something. Like, well, give me 10 seconds, and she goes on and on explaining what's happening, and he's even interested. Seconds. I'm just like, no, just get out of it. Tell me on the way. Tell your story walking. Come on.
We did discuss how poorly trained they were, considering how many times they told us they were military professionals, and yet they exhibited almost none of that. We were like, I think the lady doth protest too much. Telling me you're a trained military person, but I'm not seeing it, honey. It's not coming through. Yeah, it
was the kid's first mission. Is this the first mission?
I was amazed the kid lasted as long as he did. I thought he was going to fall like
pills
die instantly.
Yeah, early on I was like, Filler Queen, he's out straight away.
You could tell Karl Urban had lots of military training, because when he went through doors, he moved his gun very quickly. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He was like moving around.
That's what they wasn't even looking.
I didn't actually notice that.
So obviously,
I want to go back and look at that now.
There's 8 Marines in total. We've got Sarge, Duke, Goat. Which one's Goat?
Goat was the English actor, although half of him were English. The blonde, slightly older one who was the one who said he'd been in prison before.
He was the religious one. right?
Yeah.
Because this is
the
the whole riff, I
yeah,
think,
yeah,
on the Doom game was that when you encounter shrines, they're satanic and they have, goats and pentagrams and all that sort of stuff. And he was the one who was like carving crosses into himself. So I think that was meant to be the sort of satanic versus religious metaphor for the game.
It just felt like a very messed up sort of space horror that seemed to draw on everything apart from Doom. It reminded me of Event Horizon, reminded me of the Resident Evil movie.
No.
Well, no, reminded me in terms of the lore that they were trying to, with the satanic stuff.
Okay.
Reminded me, not saying it's anywhere near as good as that movie. That's not what I'm saying. I'm definitely not saying. it made me. It made me think about those films rather than anything to do with Doom. I didn't once go, this feels so Doom. I kind of was just thinking it just feels like a half-baked sort of space horror.
Paul W.S. Anderson made Event Horizon, right? He's a Resident Evil guy as well.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you're picking up on. I definitely got that vibe.
Possibly. Yeah. There was a bit of that vibe, wasn't there? Yeah. So, yeah, the guy who plays Goat is Ben Daniels. He is in the Exorcist TV series, isn't he? As the
that's right.
One of the Exorcists.
Yeah, he's not Damien Karras, is he? He's just one of the priests. Oh yeah, because it takes place obviously after that. So he was like, drawing on that religious stuff.
He's like Rosamund Pike. He's got a background of being in a lot of period dramas. So I'd not seen him in anything action. So it was quite surprising to see him.
I saw the Exorcist series, the 2 series before it got cancelled. I really liked them.
Yeah,
I thought
it's good. I've not seen it.
I like the first series. I didn't see the second series, but I like the first series. But I don't know how I felt about Gina Davis in it. It felt like she was kind of sleepwalking through it all. I was a bit like, is she all right?
Yeah. I think maybe just on a camp level, I enjoy Gina Davis too much. So if there was anything wrong with it, I didn't see it. But I loved the storytelling of the series. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but I think the reveal at the end was great.
Yeah.
In the second series, Ben Daniels gets some man on man. So I enjoyed both series. He does.
It's a different main character in the second series, though, right? Am I correct?
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of. That's what I aim for.
It's one of those ones that's like we're continuing with a different story, but also sort of not.
Okay.
So there are still some same people in it.
And it got cancelled as well. Oh.
Yeah. Shame.
That's a shame.
There you go.
That's a shame.
Do you guys know that we were robbed of the opportunity to see Arnold Schwarzenegger as Doom?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he would have been pretty good.
I'd love to have seen that film, but Arnold Schwarzenegger as Doomguy.
What?
They were making. They first tried to make it. Well, they first said they were going to make a Doom film in like 1994, 95, and Arnie was tapped for it. Was up for it, and they were sort of, I think they did a few test shots and stuff. There were rumors that he'd wielded a chainsaw.
Oh God, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but a few things happened around that time that kind of put a halt to production. One was the Columbine shooting, and they were like, anything that involves violence has to be put on hold for a while. But then there was another really specific incident where 2 kids were playing with chainsaws to recreate Zoom, and one of them got maimed.
Jesus.
So they were like, well, we definitely can't have any chainsaws in the film if we do make it. And by that point, Arnie had kind of pulled out, and then it went like between production companies until we ended up with what we ended up with.
But they did have a chainsaw, and I'm very happy.
They did have a chainsaw moment, nonetheless.
Yeah. I think I would like to see Arnie, but I like Carlo. I think Carlo was a little bit too green. Maybe if they did a couple of sequels, like now he's a bit, in the Judge Dredd film, Karl Urban is like perfect as the sort of grimacing face.
I just want more Batista in everything. I think as much Batista as we can get in everything. Yes, really.
I like all the things he's been in. I can't see him as Doomguy, but
I don't know. Well, I think he pitched like a Gears of War movie, and I've seen some like mock-ups of
because he writes as well. A guy that I worked with on Gangs of London was like co-writing something with him, one of the stunt guys.
Oh my God.
It's weird because he has that Unreal Engine body, like He looks like a character from Unreal Tournament.
Yeah, I think he'd be a good. Yeah, I just love a bit. Love me a bit of Dave.
So I mean, just looking through the plot a bit more here. So, was there any points other than the first-person shooter part that you guys really, really enjoyed?
I thought they were gonna. I thought they were gonna make more of that like weird door wall thing.
Nano.
I thought, we're gonna get loads of stuff happening with that.
door.
Nano door.
It
I thought we were gonna get limbs coming off.
KY jelly every time I ran through a door. It's sort of like.
Yeah. I mean, the plot.
On that, Tim.
The plot was weak as piss, pretty much, wasn't it? It was. There was a lot of just running around in dark corridors, kind of like I'm like, what is the point of all this? What is the end goal? What are you trying to achieve, lads?
I mean,
I got quite confused at the end
with
as well.
tongues as well.
Yeah,
like, I can't
tongue-jaculate.
think of any other instance in which I've seen so much tongue jaculate. At least, like, that was different, and it did make me laugh. So I enjoyed it.
Was really
If I was going to say one other thing other than the first-person shooter sequence, it would be the tongue jaculate.
Although we did discuss that was biologically a really
I
way of
mean, like,
reproducing.
if we're talking about like enhancing your body and your biology, that makes no sense. Like, why would you just lose your tongue at any given moment?
I mean, losing your penis after having sex.
Regrowth. It still takes energy. Like, it's not that efficient.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting about the film, like at the beginning, like we were discussing this beforehand as well, the first act, I was like, okay, it seems like it's going to be kind of stupid, but at the same time, I felt like they were treating us, the audience, with a bit of intelligence. Like, the first act didn't really give us too much exposition. It was like, we're going in, this is the thing. And I was like, wicked. A lot of the exposition was visual. There was a couple of like very brief moments of dialogue, but it wasn't in your face. And then weirdly, in like the second and third and fourth act, they just added more and more and more exposition. And I was like, by the end, it was more exposition than there was at the beginning. And I was like, that is a really weird story choice in terms of creating a script. It's like, yeah, trust the audience at the beginning, go in there, let us
lose your trust.
Exactly. And it kind of reeked of test screenings and scenes being. I don't know if you felt that, Luke, as well, like as someone who's very script nerdy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's I think it got quite confusing towards the end when people went back down to Earth. Did they even explain what was happening there? My fiance was watching it and she didn't know that they were back on Earth.
I think they were trying to just make out that one of the, I guess, the Hell Knight had somehow made it back to Earth, and in that instance killed everyone / infected loads of people. But yeah, I mean, the exposition was super heavy, and none of it was particularly interesting either. It was a bit like if they were, if we got some of the Hell Gate stuff and other things like that, it would have been,
Essentially, it was a quarantine film. So the main crux of the film at the end was, shall we all sit in quarantine until we figure out who's evil, or should we just let the Rock shoot everyone? After a year of that, you've got any reflections, but essentially what I'm saying is Doom is a film for our times.
There we go.
I suppose we should mention there is a wrestling match at the end where the Rock turns into full creature man. I don't know what he is.
So you can tell when people have been infected as well because they've got a wound on their neck. That's what you got to look for to see if anyone's been infected. And so what happens then? Karl Urban gets infected, but it kind of makes him superhuman instead of infecting him.
He's not infected though, is he? It's slightly different because it's administered direct. So he's got the clean 24th chromosome injected directly.
Clean chromosome. Give me that clean. Give me that clean chromosome.
That's how DNA works.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but you should have been listening more closely to Science Woman. This is how DNA works. If I inject you with a DNA, you get an extra one. So that's so he got the clean. Bob didn't. Also, he's a bit naughty because he was like, "Let's kill people. Let's not adhere to quarantine." Is what he was saying.
A bit.
He was like, "Let's not do quarantine. I want to break the rules."
Cheeky mass murder.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we got into that point.
And then it ends with Karl Urban sending the Rock back through the arc, back to Mars, and he throws a grenade after him.
Some of their fight sequence is quite cool. I like the bit with the sort of metal wrapped around his arm, and then he makes a horrible spike thing that goes through Karl Urban's hand. That's nice.
It was funny. We were watching it, and I said the only thing that's missing from this fight is for him to turn it into a hand spike, and then it happened. So I was very pleased.
Before that, I was like, "Why isn't there a chainsaw?" And then suddenly there was a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And then
So they did anticipate our last nerve, I will say, with the film, and gave us what we wanted. But yeah, the hand spike punch up was quite good.
That whole sequence was so enjoyable, and I think the fight direction in that section was really good. So kudos to the fight coordinators and stuff in that last section, because it was really good. It was really enjoyable, and it was well shot. And the same with the first person shooter section. Like, it was really well mapped and blocked, and it just worked and paced really well. The music was awesome. It's just everything else.
Yeah. I suppose we're congratulating everyone on the film apart from Andrzej Bartkowiak. I just wanted to say direct's name properly before the end of
that's a much better pronunciation of that name.
Just waiting for an opportunity to say his name properly.
Can you say it again clearly? Because I'll usually add this to the highlights reel as well. So say it again clearly, and I'll chuck you in there.
Andrzej Bartkowiak.
Very nice.
So he's going to use your version there over his own pronouncing.
And people will be like, "Wow, Ben pronounced that absolutely spot on."
And his voice changed.
And I'd be like,
and he does a great impression of Tim.
He suddenly had a beautiful booming bass to his voice. Yeah. So what did you guys like about the film? You've asked us like what we liked about the film. What was your kind of biggest positive?
I've got to say, I don't know what it is, but this year I've really actually been quite enjoying really dumb action films. Like Godzilla vs. Kong. I watched that twice, and I'd watch it happily again tomorrow. Just because, I don't know why. I'm just really into that at the minute. So this, I actually, although it was kind of lame and kind of stupid, I was quite pleasantly just watching it and just enjoying the nonsense. But yeah, the first person shooter scene was pretty great. I think that's like the only actual great moment in it.
Yeah.
I remember definitely enjoying this film around about the time it came out. But yeah, for some reason this time around, and I mean, I love big dumb action movies as well. I loved Godzilla vs. Kong, and I love Mortal Kombat, Luke.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that one.
I haven't seen the new one yet.
No. Yeah, but that felt like it was big dumb fun. But for some reason with this movie, maybe it's because I've played both of the newer games fairly recently, and I've really enjoyed pretty much every element of those. It just felt like this was such a sort of a poor version of that, and it just a lot of the lore was, as I said before, completely absent. And the fact that it couldn't quite decide whether it was demons, aliens, some sort of weird infection thing, just kind of frustrated me to a bit. I wanted it to have more direction, more purpose. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed this time around.
Well,
if you were gonna remake the film yourselves, like what would you
I think you've already hit the nail on the head. The Hardcore Henry thing is the way to go.
Hardcore Henry, you get Mick Gordon to do the score, without a doubt. Like the music is such a huge part of the games now. It's almost a character itself. But you would just have to have that in there. And Hardcore Henry, 100%.
Yeah, you'd have like giant kaiju-sized monsters in the background doing their thing. Yeah.
You'd have no dialogue apart from like, maybe what's the character who's always in your ear in the new one? You'd have no dialogue apart from that, and that was it. It'd just be a constant action scene after action scene, maybe like brief bit of exposition, but not much. Yeah.
So the film ends with them going to the surface of it, and then the cool credits roll. We've got a little game for you guys to play called the Name Game. I don't know if you ever played it before. It's quite a technical
I've listened to other people play it. I'm very confused by it, but I'm sure Tim will be good at it.
I feel like
he's
you guys,
he's
I
not
feel like
heard
you guys are gonna nail it.
Yeah, you're gonna nail it.
Let's see.
So I'm gonna explain a film that I watched recently. It's very similar to Doom, and you have to tell me what the film was called, and then the name of this film will rhyme with Doom. You'll get it.
Okay.
So this film I watched the other day, it was about a lot of space marines are sent to investigate some strange events on a research facility on Mars, but find themselves at the mercy of a genetically enhanced actor called Orlando. Do you know what that film's called?
Bloom.
There you go. This other one I watched was about space marines sent to investigate strange events on Mars. Also, the movie takes place entirely in a video call on a laptop screen.
Zoom.
Well done. Space marines sent to investigate strange events at a research facility on Mars, but they travel to Mars on a space plane, and it's not very roomy.
Not very roomy.
No.
A broom?
That's not what I was. All I had was womb. It's not very roomy. You have to be a baby to get in one.
But
Reading too much Terry Pratchett. I'm just
Right.
thinking of witches flying around on brooms.
It's not very okay. Tomb.
well, that would be better. It's not that. It's leg room, so it's not quite a rhyme.
Oh, come on, Nick.
This next one isn't a rhyme either, but you'll get it. Space Marines sent to investigate strange events on Mars, but find themselves at the mercy of a man trying to sell them really dodgy band T-shirts.
Fruit of the Loom.
Fruit of the Loom.
Boom. Yes, of course.
And the last one is about Space Marines sent to investigate strange events on Mars, but find themselves making asses out of you and me.
Assume.
Hey, there you go. Well done. 5 out of 5.
Well done.
I feel.
All the points.
I've got one,
Go
Luke.
on. Go on.
Okay, so a team of space marines are sent to Mars, but instead of rifles and grenades and everything like that, the only weapons they've got are devices used to weave cloth and tapestry.
Loom.
Yeah!
I like the way they said that. You kind of harmonised there.
How about a team that were supposed to go on a mission to Mars, but instead they fuck it and go to an Indian restaurant?
That you have to queue up for because you're not allowed to book.
Shit! Why have I got nothing? Why have I literally got nothing?
Well done.
Oh God!
What was it?
This is
Maybe
why.
because you don't live in London.
This is why we're
That
siblings.
might be. That must be the reason. Just don't live in London. That's it.
Well done. Okay, so we need to rate the film between like A and F. I think I know what I'm going to go with, but I'm quite curious.
Yeah, like school.
Yeah, but that's the way we tend to do it.
Okay.
What do you think you guys are going to go for?
What's the one above F? I'm really bad
E-
at the alphabet.
E for excellent.
I'm actually really bad at alphabet.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well. E for excruciating.
Ooh.
No, look, okay. You've got to. The thing is, you've got to rate the film that they made rather than the film you wanted to see.
Yeah,
It's the
that's a
principle
good
of
point. That's a
critiquing,
good
right? I obviously want to see a different film.
I've
I've
been
told
doing
you
it wrong this whole time.
So, so I've got to kind of go, well, what were they trying to make and how do I rate that? The problem is, I don't think they knew what they were trying to make because it kept changing all the time. So that does drag the scores down. There was a good thing in it, one good thing in it, I think, that they should have clung to. It was otherwise a mess. So yeah, I'm going to go for an E.
Cool. Okay.
I'm going to go for an E+. Because
Right.
that good bit of that film, I'd go back and rewatch that again and again because I enjoyed that so much. But the rest of it, no. So E+.
Yeah. So E plus. Ben, what are you going to go for?
Yeah.
You look genuinely pained, Ben.
Yeah. There was a cool moment in this film. I just remembered another cool moment though. Do you remember when a guy ripped his ear off? That happened. And one of the Marines went, "Oh, cool." That's one bit I kind of remember quite well. So That was quite fun. I had a little chuckle at that. So for that reason, I think I'm just going to go for a D- because, yeah, I think I'm going to give it. I'm not going to go as low as an E because, yeah, The Rock was all right, I suppose. Tiny baby Rock.
E plus, D minus. I'm going for straight D. D for Doom.
Straight in with a D.
Right.
I thought it was fine. I am not going to watch it again, I don't think, but it was fine.
This is definitely the kind of film that I forget about, and then when it pops up on Film 4 or the Horror Channel, like in 6 months, I will just sit down and watch it again, and then I'm disappointed all over again.
Well, yeah, because we couldn't think of a film to do that was like a game. But then after you suggested it, then I was like, oh, we could have done this film, we could have done that film. Like, yeah. But
what other video game films?
I'm thinking of films with games in, like not video games. Like I suddenly was like, oh, there was this film we saw at Fright Fest where they were playing a game. Do you remember that game?
Yeah.
Even things like that Michael Douglas film, which was kind of psychological thriller, The Game, which is kind of a bit. It's not horror, but it's not nice, is it? It definitely leaves you feeling really uneasy.
Yeah.
But like stuff like that started occurring to me where I was like, oh, maybe that.
Does anything beat the original Jumanji?
Yeah, well, Jumanji. The scene with the giant mosquitoes, that is horror.
Yeah, it's a point of contention on this podcast. What is horror? Like we've done an episode on Congo, and for a long time,
Congo's horror.
For a long time, I was convinced it wasn't horror, but then I just gave in, and we ended up doing it. But yeah,
I feel like it's creature horror, isn't it? In that sense, it's got the violence.
It's born of the horror genre, I would say.
Yeah, and we did discuss. We did think about doing the House of the Dead movie, but we've done a Uwe Boll movie.
I don't think I could do an Uwe Boll movie.
And it's just not. It's so bad that like it's not even fun to take apart.
The other one I thought, which might have been fun, just because there's murder, it's definitely not horror, was Clue, and I was like, oh, we could have done Clue actually.
Do you know what my favorite horror film that's a game that I've seen recently, like the past 2 or 3 years, is Ready or Not. You seen that?
I think we did an episode on it.
We've done an episode on that, yeah.
There you go. I really liked it. It's a game of hide and seek.
That's good.
In a like country estate, essentially.
Oh,
but it's done as a sort of a slasher movie as well.
Samara Weaving as well. It's like really good as the.
She's great, isn't she? She's just got such a good face for horror.
Yeah.
Don't mean like she's horrific.
No.
She's got a good face for horror because she can go from like looking terrified to angry to doing something comedic really quickly. So you don't sort of get bored with the tension.
Absolutely badass, soaked in blood, lighting up a cigarette.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll say that.
It's a good look.
Yeah. She is Hugo Weaving's like niece, I think, right? Or something like that.
Are they related? I didn't realise that.
They've got the same face. Like if you look at them now, you'd be like, oh yeah.
Actually, now you've said it.
Yeah.
Also, she's got a horror name, Samara.
Yeah.
From The Ring.
Oh yeah. Cool. Is there where we send people?
that was not a good fact to end on, was it? But like, can we end on an earlier fact? You were like, yeah,
so
great.
It's a good one.
He has got a common name. Yeah, you're right.
Where should we send people for the My Turn pod?
So we are My Turn with an exclamation mark is what you want to search for on any platform that you get your pods on. So My Turn exclamation mark is the podcast. And as we said, we talk about games across all genres and platforms, and we're really accessible and fun. And it's the kind of thing that a casual gamer would enjoy rather than a kind of games journalist. We hope it's fun. We're also available, like you can find us on Twitter at MyTurnPod and on Instagram at MyTurnPod. You can also find me, Gem Carmella, on Twitter and Instagram. And Erin is on Twitter and Instagram, Erin Marmot, music producer. And Tim is not on social media.
I'm a ghost. I don't exist. Try and find me. You won't find me. I'm not there.
Right there.
You're right there. I can see it right there, mate.
Known for people who like booze. You want to tell them about that?
Oh yeah, that's true. I'll give you a bonus plug. If you enjoyed the history bit of my waffle and you didn't cut it from the edit, then I do a podcast about the social history of drinking, various beverages and drinking traditions and geographies and stuff. It is not a review of beers I like, I promise. There's no tasting notes, we tell you that.
It's good fun.
It's called, unfortunately, it's called Thinking Drinking, which is the most generic name possible for a drinking podcast. So good luck finding it. If you search my name, Tim McAvoy, you'll find it. But otherwise, you might have a hard time. I shouldn't have named it that. It was a really bad decision. So I have that one if you want to hear more about the history of various boozes and boozing traditions.
I like that you named the podcast that, because when people are trying to find you, oh, he's not on social media, search for his podcast. Which one? I can't find it.
If you want my kind of quality content, you have to earn it. You have to really know how to use the search engine.
Whereas my turn is pretty easy to find. My turn, exclamation mark. You'll see a little green logo with a games controller. That's us.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a great podcast. And we're going to be on it later on.
Hey! Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be so fun.
So it will be. It's so sad. So,
well,
like
maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
I will be.
Yeah,
Just reading this thing here. Okay, so thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/Hawk and Cleaver. Thanks to Kovac Cowan for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Thanks to the listeners. Come and join the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors. Thanks to my co-host, Ben, but also a massive thanks to our guests. Thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.